The relationship between Canada and the United States has long been one of friendship and cooperation. These neighbors share the world's longest undefended border and a robust trading partnership. However, recent years have seen this bond tested by escalating trade tensions. The Canada-US trade war has introduced economic uncertainty. It began with tariffs on Canadian goods during the Trump administration. Despite CUSMA, tariffs and retaliatory measures persist. This essay will explore recent developments and global implications. We will analyze potential future scenarios for this critical relationship. Ultimately, this analysis aims to provide a comprehensive understanding of the Canada-US trade war. Section 2, the timeline. A trade war escalates. The year 2025 marked a turning point in the Canada-US trade war, with a series of events pushing the two nations further apart. In early April, the US government, under then-President Trump, announced sweeping tariffs on goods from approximately 60 countries. While Canada was largely spared from these new tariffs due to CUSMA, existing tariffs related to concerns over drug trafficking and illegal immigration remained in place. The situation escalated when Canada responded to US tariffs on its auto sector with retaliatory measures. On April 9th, Canada imposed tariffs on certain US vehicle imports, a move met with threats of further retaliation from US Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross. Despite the escalating tensions, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney expressed hope for future negotiations with the US following the upcoming presidential election. The back and forth continued, with the US urging Canada to drop its counter-tariffs while simultaneously pausing reciprocal tariffs for numerous countries, including Canada, for a period of 90 days. This temporary reprieve did little to alleviate the underlying tension, with Canadian officials, including Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, criticizing the US tariffs as unreasonable and unwarranted. The situation remains fluid, with both sides seemingly entrenched in their positions. Section 3, CUSMA, a fragile shield in a storm of tariffs. The Canada-United States-Mexico Agreement, or CUSMA, which replaced the North American Free Trade Agreement, or NAFTA, was intended to modernize trade relations between the three countries. While CUSMA does provide some protection for Canadian exports to the US, it has not been the cure-all that some had hoped for. The agreement has exposed the complexities and limitations of trade deals in the face of broader political and economic forces. Under CUSMA, over 98% of Canadian exports to the US are eligible for preferential treatment, with the vast majority entering the US duty-free. However, certain sectors such as steel and aluminum remain subject to tariffs imposed under Section 232 of the U.S. Trade Expansion Act, which allows for tariffs based on national security concerns. These tariffs, which CUSMA does not override, continue to impact key Canadian industries. The automotive sector, a cornerstone of Canadian manufacturing and a significant contributor to the Canadian economy, has also been caught in the crossfire. Despite CUSMA provisions, U.S. tariffs on non-U.S. content in vehicles have created uncertainty and concern for Canadian automakers. This situation highlights how even with a trade agreement in place, political considerations can trump economic logic, leading to ongoing trade disputes. Section 4, Global Echoes, the world reacts. The Canada-US trade war is not an isolated event. It unfolds against the backdrop of a global trading system strained by rising protectionism and shifting geopolitical alliances. The dispute has drawn attention and reactions from around the world, highlighting the interconnected nature of the global economy and the potential for such conflicts to have far-reaching consequences. China, a major player in the global trade arena, has been closely watching the developments in the Canada-US trade war. The ongoing trade dispute between the US and China has already created significant uncertainty and disruption in global markets. Canada's experience serves as a stark reminder of the challenges and complexities of navigating trade relations with the US. The trade war also underscores the limitations of existing international institutions in resolving such disputes. The World Trade Organization, designed to regulate and mediate international trade, has been weakened in recent years. The U.S., under the Trump administration, blocked appointments to the WTO's appellate body, effectively crippling its dispute settlement mechanism. Section 5. The Canadian response, navigating uncertain waters. Faced with aggressive U.S. trade policies and a shifting global trade landscape, Canada has been forced to chart a careful course. The Canadian government has pursued a multi-pronged strategy, seeking to defend its interests while keeping the door open for dialogue and a return to more stable trade relations. One key element of Canada's strategy has been to build and strengthen trade relationships with other partners around the world. This diversification effort aims to reduce Canada's reliance on the U.S. market and enhance its economic resilience. Canada has pursued trade agreements with the European Union, Japan, and other Pacific Rim countries, signaling its commitment to open markets and a rules-based trading system. Domestically, the Canadian government has implemented measures to support industries and workers affected by U.S. tariffs. These measures include financial assistance, job retraining programs, and investments in infrastructure. The government has also engaged in public awareness campaigns to highlight the importance of buying Canadian products and supporting Canadian businesses. Section 6. The future landscape unpredictability reigns. Predicting the future of the Canada-US trade war is a precarious exercise. The situation remains fluid, influenced by a complex interplay of political calculations, economic realities, and global events. However, several potential scenarios and their implications warrant consideration. One possibility is that the trade war drags on, with neither side willing to back down. This scenario would likely lead to continued uncertainty and economic damage for both countries. Businesses would face disrupted supply chains, reduced investment, and diminished market access, impacting jobs and economic growth. Another scenario involves a negotiated settlement, where both sides make concessions to reach a new trade agreement. This outcome would require political will and a willingness to compromise, something that has been in short supply in recent years. However, the potential economic benefits of a more stable and predictable trading relationship could provide incentives for both sides to return to the negotiating table. Section 7. Conclusion. A trade war without end. The Canada-US trade war represents a significant challenge to the historically strong relationship between these two North American neighbors. Despite the existence of CUSMA, tariffs, retaliatory measures, and political rhetoric continue to undermine trade relations, creating uncertainty and economic hardship. The trade war highlights the fragility of international cooperation and the vulnerability of global trade to political whims. It underscores the need for strong, rules-based institutions and a renewed commitment to multilateralism to address trade disputes and promote economic stability. As the trade war continues, its ultimate resolution remains uncertain. The path forward will depend on the political will of both countries to find common ground and forge a more cooperative and mutually beneficial trading relationship. The stakes are high, with the economic well-being of both nations and the stability of the global trading system hanging in the balance.